Hello and welcome back to the She Gallery Show. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for our guests Trixter and Pengo for returning and being with us today. Thank you for Can TV for providing this platform. My name is Dulce Maria Diaz. I am founder and director of She Gallery, and I am with two of our co-curators, Pengo and Trixter. And today we're going to be talking about Family Resemblance, the evolution of Chicago style graffiti. That is an exhibition, an event that will be taking place this fall. And it is January. Happy 2021. We're very excited for this brand new year, including this show. And we are looking forward to a better year full of positivity. And we hope that you can join us in this positive vibration. So today we're going to speak with Trixter and Pengo about this exhibition, how it came about, and our partnership with the Epiphany Center for the Arts. We have an amazing roster of writers, of original Chicago graffiti writers that helped develop the Chicago style. And many people are not aware of this or of these writers. So we're sharing the education and the knowledge so that when you join us at the Epiphany Center this fall, you know who all of these writers are, and you would have heard their story directly from them. So let's talk with Trixter and Pengo. You guys want to talk to us a little bit about how this show came about and why it's important?
Sure.
Go ahead, open up, Mike.
All right. Well, we as some of the older writers in Chicago, we always we have our own style. We have our own unique way of presenting graffiti, and we feel like it's important for us to let that legacy continue on. Especially now, when we look around the city, we see a lot of styles that are and a lot of graffiti writers. Good work, but maybe not maybe a little foreign to what we have here in Chicago and the style that we have. And it's because maybe I think a lot of writers don't know the history and what specifically is Chicago style, how that actually looks on a wall. And they don't understand maybe some of the finer tuned delicacies of Chicago style and what it entails. So we feel like maybe as some of the older writers, we ain't maybe been as effective always in communicating to the younger generation what that style entails, how it's supposed to look. So we feel like this is a great way to present it not only to the overall public, but specifically to other writers, and what that entails, what Chicago style entails and how it looks. And we'd like that uniqueness of our city to continue on, so that that the work that we put in developing this type of style and creating it, developing it, and furthering it will continue on into the next generation of writers. And they could look at our stuff and say, you know what, that's Chicago. Just by looking at it, you should be able to say that's Chicago, that's their style, that's their thing. And that's kind of what we want to do.
Yep, I agree. Well, that's a big thing going around on a global scale now is being able to recognize different contributions in the movement collectively. A big part of what graffiti is or what writers do is about originality. So that is a really guiding principle that we employ in what we do, and it's very descriptive. So being aware of these things, just as you have like all the learning the idiosyncrasies, like all the details about a practice. Like if you have a class in school, like say trigonometry, and trigonometry is a style of mathematics. It's a specific style of the way things go. So we have some parallels to any other creative or academic endeavor. So it's always good to learn all the bases so you know how it can function. As you heard, the title of the show is called Family Resemblance. We chose this title to be reflective of what it is that we are exhibiting and what it is that we represent with Chicago style, because a big thing about style is how it's done, how it looks. And then you have crews of artists that specialize in a style, and they all, some of them may be slightly independent, but they have a similarity in their familial style. So thus we have this title, Family Resemblance, which is also ties into a big artistic principle in which we will detail as we go on and throughout the gallery and the speaking and engaging aspects, entertainment components of the event as well. So we're looking forward to that happening, and it'll be coming up soon. We'll have 2 sessions. One will be a exhibition, arts exhibition, a meet and greet, and the second half will be a formal entertainment-based venue, and where we will still have some interactivity with the participating artists.
Yes, it is. It is going to be an anticipated big show, and this is why we are starting promotion so earlier on to make sure that you, the audience, gets to know all of these writers. Many people are familiar with the mainstream artist of maybe street art, and they confuse that with graffiti and say, "Oh, I know this great graffiti writer, and he's all over the place." But maybe many people don't know about the pioneers that actually started the style font of graffiti. And I know I go with font, and it's like it's writing it. They're letters, right? But they're
Mhm.
stylized letters, and that's a big difference between graffiti and street art. So this is sharing the knowledge and going back to the roots, paying respect to the pioneers. So speaking of pioneers, let's go through this beautiful roster of original first generation writers that Trixter and Pengo and I put together. And of course, I did not live through the first generation of graffiti. I studied it. I lived the 90s generation, but I am very honored to be able to work with Trixter and Pengo and be able to differentiate who
Mutual.
these writers are. What is it?
I said it's mutual.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Who they are and what role they played and why it's still important today. So we have this roster of B-Boy B, we have Slang, we have Fez, we have Trickster, we have Take Two, we have Warp, we have Pango, we have Orko, we have East, and we have Drastic. And you have only met two of these writers, and they are with us here today. Let's talk about B-Boy and Slang and Fez. Let's start with those three earlier generation writers and why they're important to the evolution of Chicago style graffiti.
Well, being a member or co-member of the crew with B-Boy B and a long-term friend with Fest and co-member and long-term friend with Slang, I
Oh,
can
and
say
Sling
these are
has been with us today. I'm sorry. Sling has been
yes,
with us previously. That's right. Yes.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the top those three you mentioned those three, right? Fest,
Mm-hmm. B-Boy, Sling, and Fez.
right? Okay, so yeah, they're long-term friends and co-members in the crew. I can honestly say that these are they've been very inspirational and with me as an artist personally and throughout the movement collectively here in Chicago. Fesky is known as primarily one of the godfathers, one of the grandfathers of the movement. He's been writing a long time. He started, I think his heyday was late 70s, early 80s as well. So he's definitely a founder of the movement. And from what I recall, some of the other participants or artists in the exhibit were nurtured from him as well, and which we'll hear, and each artist will be able to detail that as we go on. But essentially, ABC, when I met B-Boy B when I went to high school. So as a freshman, we started hanging out, dancing together and doing art. And they, took me into the fold in the crew. And that's how I became part of ABC. But B-Boy B was definitely an innovator. His name has been B-Boy B since the 70s. So you got to have an idea what that means if he's had
Since
that
the
name that long.
70s.
Yeah, so he's had that name a
Yes.
long time to say he's B-Boy B. So
Mm-hmm.
that in itself, gives you an idea of the originality and the founding aspects of what we're talking about in this movement. Slang, phenomenal artist. When I first met Slang, we met through some of the other founding artists here that may not be participating in the show, but as the time goes on, you'll hear more about these artists and their earliest beginnings here in Chicago. And again, Fesky, he's been avid, in the community doing murals, airbrushing things. He's a man of many talents. We came up together during the early 80s, and he's still producing. Everyone's still productive now.
Mm-hmm.
PJ, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, me and Tyrone, we both grew up on the west side of Chicago, and the west side, we were very, because we didn't necessarily have all the train lines connecting to us, so we really had to make an effort to get on a train and connect with some of these other writers. And I remember when I would head on the south side, going to the south side from the O'Hare line, Fess is the guy you saw. Fez, he was on every rooftop, all
Yeah,
sorts of rooftops, and he just had masterpieces on those rooftops. And the first writer I ever knew on the South Side, just because of his work, was Fess, and it was just outstanding. And he was the connection to the South Side for some of us on the West Side and some of us up north.
sure was.
He was that
Fun
connection.
times, fun times.
And
So we
yeah,
have, oh, sorry. So we have Fez. We also have Take Two, Warp, Pengo, Orko, East, and Drastic. And as Pengo was mentioning, joining the lines. When Pengo was on his previous segment, he talked to us about how they would wake up really early and he would meet up with Drastic and they would get to school early. This was the dedication that they had back then. So this is the connection. This is the family resemblance. And that's what's so exciting about all of this, that all of these styles and even the movement was very experimental, children just having fun, wanting to get up. And here we are so many years later, and it's become, something that you study in art books. How amazing is that? So
Yeah, that's so true.
yeah, and family resemblance. So when Pengo and Trixter and I were discussing this roster of these writers, it was a very difficult decision. We didn't want to leave anybody out because we recognize that there are more first generation writers, but we want to be very clear that these writers are still producing through date. And this is why they are still here. And they were a big influence back then, and they're still doing it to date, even if they're not necessarily doing illegal, because most of everybody shouldn't be at this point. It's very welcoming now. So, that's something else to point out. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off, but that's something else. So we have Fast, Trickster, Take Two, Warp, Pengo, Orko, East, and Drastic. What else have these writers brought to the movement, and why are they part of this exhibition?
Well, Warp was one of the first organizing entities of the movement early on. He hosted a lot of key meetings across the city, which were meant to squash beefs and create a camaraderie amongst all the artists. And he was essentially pretty successful with that. And he had a series of meetings that went off pretty well. Take Two, definitely a great founder, b-boy, entrepreneur. He's a man of many talents. His contributions are untold. I mean, he's done so many different mural projects and key walls that got recognized across and advanced a whole cadre of artists. So he's definitely been producing and founding and developing artists. He helped nurture me along as well. And all the other artists. Go ahead, PG. You want to mention some of the others? Drastic.
You spoke about Warp, and I don't know anybody who doesn't have mad love and respect for Warp, and I've never heard anyone say anything negative about Warp, because not just the contribution that he's made to graffiti, but the type of individual that Warp is. He's a really righteous,
stand-up guy, definitely, man. For
real. We used to call him the Cyrus.
The Cyrus, I was gonna say
that. The Cyrus of graffiti, because like in the Warriors, you had Cyrus who united all the gangs.
Right.
He united a lot of the writers during that time, and the reason why I think the lines got bombed the way they did is because of what he did. He brought us together. He gave us vision. He gave us purpose. And he told us, and he inspired us to go. And I can remember, going to when he was into his apartment back in the day, and just sitting there on a Saturday and just listening to him talk. And there was nothing but always love and positivity coming out of him. And you're gonna come out of there with some knowledge. You're gonna sit with Warp and you're gonna get schooled, but schooled in such a positive way. And man, I just got mad love for him, and I can't wait for the segment when they show him and just what he's gonna say. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's mutual. I recall I would go to his house when I was like 15, 16, to go where he frequented at. The area where he was at was had some notoriety, but when you came around there and you said you knew him, you was all good. It was amazing time. Challenging, but it was amazing time.
Amen.
And what a reunion to this family resemblance, huh?
Yeah.
I
That's so
think that's
cool.
why that title that, when Tyrone came up, when Trix came up with the title Family Resemblance, you can see, I mean, Chicago's a big city. And then
Hmm.
back then, there were thousands of writers. And yet, we're all connected. We all have these interlocking stories. I knew
Hmm.
B-Boy from high school, and I the same as Tyrone. I mean, he was the coolest kid in high school. It took him 10 minutes to walk from one class to the other because he just was in no rush. But
Yeah, that's so funny. He was always a calm guy walking, man. He was never speeding to nothing.
always chill. But that idea of family resemblance, overlapping stories, and
Yeah,
overlapping situations, and it truly is, especially amongst, I think, us old schoolers, truly is family. You
yeah.
know.
We
Mhm.
have a collective family. We have a global family, and then just like society at large, we have a global family. We have an immediate family, and our immediate family being the crews, and thus we call it family resemblance because if you notice, like all the crews here, a lot of the crew members have similar. They paint similar, and they paint a specific way, and as we'll see in through the exhibit, how this is recognized. And we're looking forward
Mhm.
to for this event.
Yeah, and so are we. So what else the audience is going to see before the event, which is why we're starting promotion so earlier on, is you are all going to have a chance to meet every single one of these writers and get to know their work, get to know their story. Something very amazing about all of these writers is that they started off as writers. And something that really stood out when we were working on these proposals and having these conversations was, hey, don't call me an artist. I'm not an artist. I'm a writer. So it's like this
Mhm.
big, like it's almost like you're proud of this. You're proud of being a writer because I mean it's not almost, you are. You're proud of being a writer because you know that it's paved way to this. Not to say that these writers have not become artists, because art was always there. That's how you are creating these stylized letters. But it's just something very like prominent, like I am a writer, and
Mhm.
this is what this is doing. It's representing an era, and that's very special, the evolution of Chicago style graffiti. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual evolution of Chicago style graffiti. How does that even evolve, and how does the Chicago style differentiate from New York? And this is something else that we're going to be talking about during this exhibition, so that everybody knows it's going to be an exhibition that will showcase the works of these original pioneers and the evolution of Chicago style graffiti, and it will also show the difference between Chicago graffiti and New York graffiti, because that was a big huge influence to Chicago. And then we're also going to have an event, so we're talking about family resemblance, the unity, what Warp did. He brought unity together. He brought all the writers together, and that's essentially what this is doing. But let's remember that graffiti is just one of the elements of hip hop. So what this event is going to showcase, aside from the exhibition, the actual event, we will touch on all five of the elements. And that is, we will have the emceeing, and we will have breakdancing, and we will have the graffiti, and we will have the DJing, and we will have love, we will have unity, the fifth element, and that's what's so important. And we will also be talking more with Trickster and some of these writers, giving some educational feedback during that exhibition and the events as well. So what else are we looking forward to as far as the event goes, guys?
Without giving anything away, because we don't want to talk about some of the things that we're going to
Right.
talk about at the event, so we don't want to get too deep into it. But I think it's important to say where yes, Chicago is unique in the way its presentation of graffiti letters and style, but we still have an origin story, and the origin story does come out of New York, because New York had an influence on Chicago, and Chicago then, from that influence from New York, we took it in a different direction and we made it our own.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to give homage and we got to give honor to New York, because at that time that was the hub, that was the mecca for graffiti, and
Mhm.
we would be dishonest to say that there was no influence from New York to Chicago. But
Mhm.
then again, like I said, Chicago developed on its own and made it unique to what we have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like the concept of writers. If you given a
I
name,
was
you given
about
a
to say.
title, and you have to innovate, and they tell you to just innovate, right? So if practicing artists need to innovate and differentiate their style, then of course other states would be able to differentiate their styles into, because it's along the lines of what we do. It's about creativity, creating, being able to create and create a new presence, a new something that hasn't been created already. So you want to create a new style.
Mm-hmm.
Styles lend to the creation process because you can create different ways, and then a style is a specificity, is a specific methodology to applying the creative endeavor. So in this event, we'll detail that. We'll have exhibits, we'll have paintings, we'll have artworks, we'll have some lectures. We'll have a mix of things to keep our audience entertained. So we're looking forward to it.
And I mean, you to piggyback off of what Ty's saying, think of it like food too. All right, when you think of pizza, all right, you got New York originating the pizza. They got the thin crust. All right,
Yeah, yeah,
comes over
yeah,
here, we
yeah.
don't talk about no thin crust. We want that Chicago deep dish pizza.
Deep
Then you
Good,
dish,
move it
yes.
over
good,
to
good.
LA. And then you move to LA and they're putting pineapples on pizza. And we said, oh, we don't need no pineapples on no pizza in Chicago. So
Hmm.
it's all pizza, but it's unique to its location. And,
Right.
and not every city has its own pizza. And the same thing with graffiti. Not every city has its own letters, has its own style.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we do have our own style, and that came about in a certain specific way, and it's identifiable to who we are.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Amen to
And
that.
yep.
You were gonna say something, T?
Oh, I was just going to add on that on a macro scale, on a larger perspective, Chicago is the Midwest. It's the crown jewel of the Midwest. Everything that we do has relative connotations or connections to mainstream society as it is. So as we're talking about style, Chicago has a style, right? Chicago in general is the culminating element of the nation. We are the center of the nation. We are the
Mm-hmm.
Midwest capital. So we get everything from both coasts. Everything coming from the over the water to the West Coast, everyone, and it all conglomerates and comes to the center of
Mm-hmm.
America, and where Chicago is the hub. We're known as a hub in many respects. Transportation, we're the freight capital of the world. Um, Many things, that intersects. This is the crossroads of the U.S. Is the Midwest. So everything has to pass through us, basically. So whatever was
Yeah.
created, and then we take it and we innovate it and push it back out.
And that's what this is all about, and sharing the history and making sure that we pay respect, as they mentioned. We got to give respect to New York. They innovated, or they inspired the styles here. So this is what we're doing during the show. This is exactly what we're doing. We're paying respect to the innovators here in Chicago that created this Chicago style graffiti. And right now, what does it feel like for you guys that you guys started this? When you go to books or bookstores and you see that this is being taught, like line by line, to me it like
Yeah,
blows my mind. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm the same way. I'm definitely the same way. How about you, PG? I'm definitely when I'm overwhelmed. It's like the teacher becomes a student again. I feel like wow, I got so much more I want to contribute and do now that I'm seeing the acceptance and the energy and the spirit of it, and the adoption of hip hop culture in general. It's really enthralling and exciting, and it's like it's all anew for me now. Like I'm on the fledgling experience, trying to just bring out some whole new developments. It's like an open field to go out and create, because before we had the suppression, but now we have support now. We have a foundation and we're growing. So it's an exciting time.
That's awesome. Pengo, how do you
I,
feel about
I,
that?
I kind of feel like the clock is ticking. I'm 50 years old, and it's so many walls, so little time, so many styles, so little time, and so I'm desperate. So anybody wants to paint
Oh
this
yeah, we're gonna
summer,
get it
let me
in the
know
summer,
if you
brother.
got the wall.
Yeah, definitely. So this year's
Yeah,
gonna be a great year. I mean,
or we can still throw.
yeah,
And
2020, I mean, that was the year of vision. So, again, 2020 vision. So we're looking ahead to the future. So we're just coming into 2021. So let's make it right. Let's make it happen. Let's come out with this new genre and just increase the art and make it grow. Because remember, the big thing that I mentioned before is about art and art genres and art movements. Think about how many other art movements don't exist anymore because people stop practicing it. And so thus we keep going to different art styles and art genres. And now we're at graffiti. Since graffiti in the 60s, 69, 68, 67, there has been no other art forms. So it's up for us in order to keep elevating, to go upward and take art form to the next level and the next level, because there's no other art forms that have been designed or created.
Wow.
So we must
Who's
excel.
gonna create a brand new art form? Come
That's
on.
what I'm saying. How do you even begin to do that? There has been no other art form created since graffiti.
What?
That's right.
None.
What
And you know what's
happens
great?
now?
You know what's great? This didn't come from the art world. This came from the streets. This
From the
came
youth.
from the neighborhoods, from the youth.
The neighborhoods, the people, the community.
People
From
who
the
never went to
people.
formal art school. Yeah. People who never went to, I never went to formal art school. I did for 2 weeks after I got out the army. They told me we had to be fully dedicated to school. And I realized, man, I ain't gonna have no time to do walls and trains and rooftops, and I ain't gonna see my woman. So I dropped out of art school after 2 weeks. I said, forget this. But I don't have formal training. Tyrone don't have formal training. And yeah, we're considered masters at what we do. And I think that's a nice thing too, is because you don't have to
God-given, Mike. God-given. God-given talent.
God-given. That's right. You don't have to go. You don't have to go to school.
Go to school. God gave it to us. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And
which means anybody can do it.
I just want to add that it's like having like somebody like Pengo coming back on. If many of you watch the interview with Pengo or can visit us on our website at sharinghisenergygallery.net, and you revisit these interviews with Pengo, with Trixter, and the entire season that Trixter led on, and really get more knowledge. That's season 5. But in speaking with Pengo, and if you watch his interview, you'll learn that Pengo actually left all of this, and he went to school. He went and he became a preacher, and and he came back. He came back, and this is why, to me, this is extra important, because you're sharing this to the youth, and you're saying that this is important. It was important for you to go find God and to go give back to the people, to the community, but this is also important to you. Can you kind of elaborate on why this is important to you, or is equally as important to you as maybe some of the other accomplishments that you've had in your life? Why is this so personally important to you? What made you come back?
Yeah. Well, to me, when I see graffiti art, when I was younger, and I would ride the train, and I would see rooftops, and I would drive through neighborhoods, and I would see, the pieces in the neighborhoods. And it was in the backdrop of the 80s, which was a rough time in Chicago. People think Chicago was bad now. Chicago was way worse in the 80s than it was now. So you're seeing it in the backdrop of a lot of crime, a lot of gangbang, a lot of gang graffiti everywhere. It's just a terrible time. And in that backdrop, graffiti and hip hop in general, I'm talking the DJing, the breaking, all of that combined just gave a different vibe to the neighborhood, to kids who didn't want to gangbang, kids who didn't want to get caught up in drugs and doing things like that. It gave a different outlet. It gave a different form of escape for people who had no way out. I was, like I said, I was raised on the West Side, and my neighborhood, I remember Flash saying he would ride his bike down North Avenue. He said, once I hit Cicero, he said, I pedaled as fast as I could to get to Central. He said, because that neighborhood was bad. And so
hey,
he's
Mike.
like, as soon as I saw Da Vinci Manor, I knew I was safe.
Hey, Mike.
And so
it was rough back in the day. Hey, you be like rough, this.
Bro.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that creative outlet, man, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like it. I mean, to have, just as like New York beginnings, it started out like, gangs and the Black Spades and all the different gangs and whatever. And then the hip hop movement was created to as an outlet away from these social ills. And it's still be, practiced. So youth are finding that creative outlet as a means to offset them from that negative pattern of society that's set forth for us, for failure, for challenge, for non-traditional behavior, or whatever it may be. This, although it has some quirks to it, but it did instill camaraderie amongst people. The main tenets of hip hop: peace, love, unity, and
Unity.
having fun. So
Yes.
that's it was made to direct us, and it did successfully direct a lot of youth
Mm-hmm.
into more positive and more successful people.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That's right.
And I just want to point out, oh, sorry, Trickster mentioned all of these different points, and Pengo mentioned all of these different points about how it helped people, how it brought people together. And, I mean, the title of our organization is Sharing His Energy. And I know that you two are believers as well, but I am really big on the war between good and evil, and especially during this age and time. I feel like spiritual warfare is at its peak. So something that I found and in looking at hip hop and in graffiti, how this happened kind of organically, right? It's not like somebody said, I'm gonna create hip hop and it's gonna consist of this, and this and that. Let's do it. Like, no, it just became, it grew, and then you named it. So that's why it's organic. But the reason that it happened and it was so organic was because it was so needed. It
And
was
needed, yes,
needed.
yes,
People
yeah.
needed freedom. People needed community. People needed unity. And so you broke down through all the barriers and you did that. So that was like goodness, like a heavy load of goodness. And what happens when you have good? Little bad starts stacking, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
then you have a lot of ego going on in the graffiti world. And that has probably like damaged a lot of really good talent or potential for talent. And you're probably gonna find that in any kind of artwork. But that's probably, as you say, there's some quirks. There's the ego aspect, but that's always gonna be in anything that produces goodness. And the point of me saying this is for everybody that is watching. If you are trying to do good and bad is not letting you, keep trying. I promise, keep trying, keep pushing through, because that negative is doing that on purpose. It sees this good. Keep fighting it through, because good is always, always stronger. And this is part of the reason why it is so important to keep hip hop alive, but not just keep hip hop alive, keep hip hop's elements alive, what they really originally mean. Not like, oh, this is cool, I want to be a graffiti writer, buy me a skateboard, but really understanding the elements and why they're so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just thought that was really important, because that's why it started. It brought kids out of these bad neighborhoods and created opportunities on your own. Everybody created their own opportunities, and of course some people have taken advantage of opportunities, because that's just what happens. But this is why Family Resemblance, the evolution of Chicago style graffiti, is as authentic as it is. And thank
I
you
agree.
guys so much for this. um so one of the other things that we talked a little bit about the events, and I know that we'll get into more details as we continue with these promotions throughout the year. But you guests will also have a chance to participate in a lot of fun activities, such as contests for all of these elements, and have an opportunity to be judged by 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 these original writers. And when I say judge, I don't mean like badly judging you, but constructive criticism, and contests for that as well. So that's kind of fun and exciting, right, guys?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
Well, to all of our viewers who are practitioners, we look forward to having you come in and visit and join us this event, which we'll be having additional information on that in the coming weeks and months. Stay tuned with Chi Gallery, sharing his energy gallery, and Can TV, and we'll have more updates on that as well. And in general, if you are not a practitioner, we'd love to have you come out and hear some dialogue, some context among artists, and some ideals of what we envision and for this art in the coming years. It'll be entertaining. We'll make sure it's worth your while.
Thank you, T. P, you have anything else to share?
Well, yeah, we want to encourage you, like Ty said, practitioners, as he stated. We want you to come out and especially hear what me and Ty have to say when we get into the discussion aspect, because we want you to learn. Too many people, they don't want to learn. They think they already know. And I think we always should have a teachable spirit, no matter how old you are. You should always want to learn, see something
The
new.
fifth element.
Yeah,
The fifth
so
element. It's all. I mean, a lot of the youth. That's a big thing. Maybe we should address at the event is the concept of the fifth element. Because I noticed a trend that's coming along. A lot of people want to. They've receded to the four elements.
mm,
And they said the knowledge element. Knowledge element is very important, which we need to emphasize again. Why the knowledge element is important, because this is how we better ourselves. This is how we better our styles, our skills.
right.
Because as we mentioned before on a previous episode, we mentioned how the structure of information and data and information interacts together to become knowledge, and then knowledge becomes wisdom. If you don't utilize wisdom in what you do, you doomed to repeat, negative things, although you have knowledge of it. So
That's right.
applying knowledge and letting it become wisdom is a big thing on how we
Amen.
as people can go further.
Yeah, that's why it's important. We want to encourage you, come out and listen to the knowledge that me and Tyrone are going to tell you, because it is knowledge and it's a history, and it's a history y'all should be proud of. Come out, listen to us, and we want to encourage you to apply it. We're literally telling you, bite what we're telling you, bite it and apply it. We
Mhm.
want you to have, we want me and Tyrone, we're gonna be dead one day. And I don't want all that's left of me is some pictures on Instagram and maybe some canvases here and there.
Mhm.
The strongest part of a legacy is if others continue it after you. And we want to encourage you, come on out, listen to what we have to say, have some question and answer time afterwards. If you need me and Ty, I know we're both willing to have time where we could teach individuals and crews some of the stuff that we know and help you further
Yeah,
in
we got to take it
advancing
further.
graffiti. Yeah.
Yep,
And
I
even if
agree.
you went to art school,
Yep,
even if
I
you went to
agree.
art school, even if you've been doing this for a long time, listen to what me and Ty have to say, listen to what some of the other writers in this show have to show you and say, and apply it, and you can be that much better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree because there's so much that you never should close yourself off to knowledge. If you close yourself off to learning, there's no more room for growth. So never
Right.
say that I know it all, I got it all. It's always I learn every day, all day. So I mean, it's about
Right.
continuing bettering yourself. You may get a little tidbit that helps you, carry yourself along and be stronger every day. So it's always good
That's right.
to acknowledge that.
Amen.
Amen. All right.
Amen.
Amen, amen, amen. And we are very much looking forward to a 2021, a much better one, full of blessings and positive energy. And again, we want to thank Trixter and Pengo for being with us today, Can TV, and for the Epiphany Center for the Arts for this amazing partnership. Cannot wait for you guys to meet David and Kim Chase and Aaron and Mike that we're working with over there. And that is it for today. We look forward to seeing you guys again. And again, we did have technical difficulties, so the show is pre-recorded, but we will be back again with Trickster and Pengo for another live show, so you can join us. Thank you.
Looking
Have a
forward
great
to it.
day.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.